It is 8:36, 5 on Tuesday, April 14th, and a quorum is present. This is the Minnesota State Education Finance Committee, and we will now come to order. Today, we're going to hear two bills, Senator Kupec's Senate File 5025 and Senator Seeberger's Senate File 4677, and then we will also hear presentations on the Principal Survey and the Seclusion Working Group. I need to step next door for a couple of bills of my own. Senator Kupec, you can come up. And so I'm going to turn the gavel over to Senator Gustafson when she gets her bearings. So I'll be back.
All right, welcome Senator Kupec. We're going to hear SF 5025. And I believe it's your intention to have Senate File 5025 laid over for possible inclusion in a future omnibus bill. Is that correct?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
All right. Senator Rarick moves to Senate File 5025 before the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I also have an A1 author's amendment.
Okay. So moved. All those in favor of the A1 amendment say aye. All those opposed say nay. You're ready to go.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Then the A1 amendment just put some dollar figures into the bill where there were a couple of blank spots. So we are looking here for the Moorhead Public Schools to do a fund transfer from its community education revenue of a very modest amount and then move that over to the general fund as for $80,000. So the community education program in Moorhead is wildly successful and runs a profit. I myself have taught community education in Moorhead, so if you ever want to take a walking tour of the Comstock neighborhood for a small fee, which goes to community ed, you are welcome to do that at some point. So with that, I will just turn it over to my testifiers to explain a little bit more.
All right, when you're ready, please state your name for the record to begin.
Okay, I'm Superintendent Brandon Lunick, Superintendent of the Moorhead Area Public Schools, and I'm here to say thank you on behalf of Senator Kupec and the committee this morning for hearing Senate Bill 5025 and allowing us the ability to transfer from two accounts, our long-term facility maintenance and our community ed account. This bill goes a long way towards strengthening local control to help us manage current financial pressures, while at the same time honoring the commitment and mission of the two funds that are here labeled to be transferred. We also believe that this bill protects core programs and staff as we are allowed to move these dollars from one account to another. We believe that this will help keep the district moving forward in a manner that will not impact students or staff. So this will also help us to ensure that we are fiscally responsible while addressing our diverse educational needs. We also believe that this one-time reallocation is a sensible way to help us adapt to persistent economic pressures and fluctuations in our enrollment, which I believe all districts statewide are facing today. And in closing, I just want to say again, this bill allows us to continue to manage our funds locally while preserving programs for our district across all funds, and allows us to continue to carry out our mission without affecting our taxpayers as well. So thank you on behalf of the Moorhead Area Public Schools for the support of Senate File 5025.
Thank you. Now up next, Laura Oxnevad. If I pronounced that wrong, please correct me. State your name for the record to begin when you're ready.
Chair Gustafson and members of the committee, my name is Laura Oxnevad. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify. I am speaking on behalf of the Minnesota School Boards Association, the Association of Metro School Districts, the Minnesota Rural Education Association, the Minnesota Association of School Administrators, and the Minnesota Association of School Business Officials. We appreciate the intent of Senate File 5025 and fully support its provisions allowing Moorhead Area Public Schools to permanently transfer fund balances from community education and long-term facilities maintenance reserves into the general fund. This bill provides a practical response to real financial challenges facing school districts. In addition, we respectfully urge the legislature to extend this authority statewide. Districts across Minnesota, both Metro and Greater Minnesota, are experiencing similar fiscal pressures driven by inflation, enrollment changes, rising costs, and increasing student needs. The flexibility provided in Senate File 5025 is not unique to one district. Addressing these challenges district by district creates unnecessary complexity. A statewide policy would promote consistency, fairness, and efficiency while acknowledging that locally elected school boards are best positioned to make responsible financial decisions. Importantly, statewide expansion would not increase state aid or local property taxes. It simply allows districts to manage existing resources more effectively during periods of financial strain. This approach aligns with past legislative actions that provided targeted flexibility during times of disruption. Most importantly, statewide authority would allow school boards to focus on stability for students rather than repeatedly seeking one-off legislative solutions. In closing, we fully support Senate File 5025 and respectfully ask that it be strengthened through statewide expansion. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Members, any comments or questions? Senator Lang?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support the bill. I support schools having some, flexibility when it comes to their funding streams. I'm just curious when it came to the A1 amendment and actually the original part of the bill, the wording if we increase the scope when you say from a restricted fund balance, I mean, I'm assuming that's more than just the original education revenue reserve account that you had listed. So does it increase the scope where you can pull from other accounts as well? And then when it comes to the undesignated balance, to me, it's, we have a very prescriptive budget when it comes through the education finance. We know where every dollar is going, every account, and this seems it's coming from, some unrestricted account and going into some undesignated area. It seems to be very vague to me.
Senator Kupec or a testifier?
You go first.
And maybe that it's more of a suggestion, like just maybe tell us where it's coming from and where it's going.
Sure.
Okay. Well, in our case, these funds that would be transferred would ultimately end up back in our operating capital because right now our district struggles to balance our operating capital needs. And when we don't have the funds in operating capital, we end up having to pull it from the general fund. And our hope is that we can have other stops along the way before we have to keep taking away from the general fund, because ultimately the general fund, when you have to do that, continues to take away from our K-12 mission as well. So I'm just trying, our goal is to continue to utilize our funds to the best we can to allow us to continue to allow for programming that benefits all kids pre-K to grade when we include Fund 4 in that possibility as well.
Senator Lang?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I guess the question still remains, does it increase the scope? And I'm assuming it does when you add that amendment, that it's not just the community education revenues reserve account. And again, I'm supportive, it's just, it seems rather vague.
I think the way the bill is written, it only isolates the right now 2 funds, and I would support the way it's written right now. But I would recommend to this committee and to others that we look at ways to utilize other funds to allow those transfers as well, I hope I'm answering your question.
Senator Lang?
Sure. Yeah, understood. It's just, I don't know, maybe this is more of a question for council, is to, usually when we do these fund balance transfers, is there more specificity when it comes to these bills?
Yeah, Senator Lang, it's up to the author, but I was pausing for a second to try to think of what we did last year with Centennial Schools and if that was something similar. Yeah, I think it is up to the author, Bill, and then we just have to, decide if we think it's appropriate. Senator Rarick, am I missing something from? Sorry to put you on the spot, but you've been here a long time. Senator Lang, would you let us table your question for a second and come back to it? Okay. Okay. Senator Farnsworth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And actually, most of the questions that I had were already answered, thanks to Senator Lang's questions. But it got me thinking about something that Ms. Oxnavad said. Although I wasn't totally clear, but thinking about flexibility for schools, I mean, is it the case, in your expert opinion, that a lot of schools across the state have maybe surpluses in their community ed funds that we could allow flexibility? Because I think most of the schools in the state are struggling like this. So, I mean, are you hearing this from a lot of schools across the state, that they have extra money in their community ed fund that maybe could be used for general ed?
Sorry, to the testifier or Senator Kupec?
Chair Gustafson.
You can go, and I can make comment too.
Thank you, Senator Farnsworth. I don't have specific data, but I do know that depending on the district throughout the state, some districts are very robust and have a very robust community ed fund balance, and others maybe not as much. And so that offering that flexibility, depending on the different funds, would just be helpful for all districts throughout the state.
Senator Farnsworth?
Madam Chair, could I will also just address that? I think, when I've heard from my districts, it's not necessarily, Moorhead has a little more in community ed, but I have another district that's done wonders with its lunch account balance, and that, of course, is very restrictive on that. So it seems very, from district to district, each district seems to have their own, area where they've done a little better in one place and have a little bit of a surplus running there, so.
Senator Holmstrom and then Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I met with our school board, my school board in Buffalo yesterday, and they had very similar concerns. And they actually pointed out that among metro area school districts, the funding for this year is $244 million short of what they need it to be. So there's a massive deficit. And their number one request of this legislature was to find a way to create leniency in those fund balances, because they have the funds, they just can't use them. So the question is, how many teachers do we get rid of, or how much do we pull out of reserves? And that's unfortunate. So I support this bill, and I hope to see something a lot more expansive that gives all districts an opportunity to right some of their ship. Thank you.
Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is something we've been talking about for a few years now, and we've offered a number of amendments to do just that. And I'm so disappointed to see Senator Clark show up, because we had a 4-3 advantage and could have offered that amendment. But no, I hope that you bring this up, that this continues our discussions. This is something we've been talking about here for a few years now, this idea, these funds that come and are so restrictive. In my opinion, we're getting to a point where we hardly need local school boards, because we're dictating everything from here. And I think it's time to put more of that control back in the hands of our local school boards. They know their communities better. So I hope that's a conversation that we continue to have, and discussions that we're open to, so that we can look at that, whether it's this year or in the near future.
Members, any other questions or comments? Senator Lang, did you get your question answered? I didn't mean to put you on the spot again, but
No, Madam Chair, I did get my question answered. Of course, that, now it started a new one, yeah. Maybe the Moorhead School District bill turns into something a little more expansive.
Senator Rarick.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. So to that, we did look at how it was written in our omnibus bill, the other transfers, and they're all written the same way. So that must be the way it is. And we are up 5-4 now, so I might just offer that amendment. No, just kidding.
Members, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Senator Kupec, closing thoughts?
No, thank you for the discussion, and I do think, I don't know, Senator Rarick, I think the last time we were here, we had this similar conversation, and I do think, allowing school districts more flexibility as long as there are some guardrails in place, when school districts have, a responsible balance within a fund, and then another one is short, I think that's a worthy goal of trying to allow them a little flexibility in that. So I thank you for those comments.
All right, thank you, Senator Kupec. And with that, Senate File 5025 as amended is laid over for possible inclusion in a future omnibus bill. Next up, we will have a presentation of Minnesota Principals Survey. There are a number of testifiers. We are going to try to limit the testimony to 2 minutes, 3. It's a presentation, so scratch that. But we maybe don't go a half hour. So we'll start with Senator Bolden, Senate File 1844, when you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for hearing this bill this morning. I will be brief because I do want you to be able to hear from testifiers and other folks to speak about this. Just briefly, I am grateful to be before you and for you to hear about this. I think as we are making policy, it is important for us to have all the information possible to do that. And so this is a tool that can help to provide us with valuable information for the very reasonable price of just $210,000 to the Center for Applied Research and Education Improvement to administer the Minnesota Principals Survey. And so I want to thank Senator Spazinski and Senator Clark for being co-authors on this bill. It really would be is a tool to help us gain deeper understanding of the challenges that school leaders across the state are facing and help us to give that information and that perspective that principals have as all over the state to be able to do our work. And so with that, Madam Chair, happy to hear from our testifiers.
Thank you, Senator Bolden. First up, we have Patrice Rellerford, and if I mispronounce your name, please correct me. State your name for the record and begin when ready.
Thank you. I'm Patrice Rellerford, Vice President of Collective Impact and Giving at the Minneapolis Foundation. Thank you so much to the committee for the opportunity to speak today. At the Minneapolis Foundation, we do a number of things. We facilitate grant making, we support public policy, and we also commission research to help drive collective action and realize strong, vibrant communities across the state. Our foundation approached Carrie in 2020 about the idea of commissioning the Principal Survey because we believe that district leaders, universities, and policymakers like yourselves should hear from the voices of the people who lead our schools each day. This survey asks principals to share their perspective on what's happening in our schools and, very importantly, how it's impacting our teachers and our students. The most recent iteration of the survey, which wrapped in November of 2025, reinforces what many of us know about our schools. They're facing complex, interconnected challenges, and principals are at the front line of those challenges. Our colleagues from Cary will dive into the survey more, and you'll hear from 2 Minnesota principals who took the survey. What makes the Minnesota Principal Survey special and needed and valuable is that it doesn't just highlight problems. It gives you, as legislators and lawmakers, real data and insights from the people who implement your policies each day in our schools. It tells us where investments are working, where gaps remain, and where action is most urgently needed. In addition to learning more about the key findings from the 2025 Principal Survey, you will also hear key findings from a special survey that our foundation commissioned to better understand the impact of Operation Metro Surge on schools statewide. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you today, and now I'll turn it over to our colleagues from the U of M, Dr. Sarah Kemper and Dr. Katie Pickell, and they'll share more insights from the Minnesota Principal Survey and the Operation Metro Surge Special Survey. Thank you.
Thank you. The next testifier could join the table, and then, I'm sorry, if you could introduce yourself or the record and begin when you're ready.
Yes, thank you, Chair Augustus and members of the committee. My name is Katie Pickell, and I serve as the Executive Director of Educational Leadership at the University of Minnesota. One of my roles is partnering with my colleague, Dr. Sarah Kemper, and overseeing the Minnesota Principals Survey, which is a survey of practicing school principals, assistant principals, and charter school leaders across the state. It has been administered every other year since 2021. I'm delighted also to have with me today two principals, Julian Stanky, principal at Birch Lake Elementary School in the White Bear Lake Area Public Schools, and also Mike Lemire, principal at Central Park Elementary in the Park Rapids Area Schools. They will contextualize the brief amount of data that I'm going to share with you today through their lived experiences as school principals. I want to just start by letting you know who responded to this survey. In survey land, as we like to call it, a 46% response rate is actually pretty astronomical, and we've been seeing that response rate grow over the 3 iterations of the survey. We can also tell you that the respondents can be generalized to the populations of those principals actually serving in the state of Minnesota. We have many things available to you on our website if they are of interest to you. I'm pretty sure you were given the executive summary in your packet that I will be referencing today with page numbers in the slides as well. It's also important to note that all of the data is loaded into what we call Tableau, which is a data visualization platform that allows you to look at any question in the survey by any number of those variables that you see on the right-hand side of the screen as well. The survey itself, while lengthy, takes about 30 minutes to complete. I'm going to only scratch the surface on a few of the areas of the survey topics today, and those are the ones that are in bold. First, I'll talk briefly about their working conditions. Principals tell us overwhelmingly that they're pretty generally satisfied with their ability to lead their schools and that they feel that they can be successful. So I think that's important. Also, they're saying that their workload sustainability is slightly on the rise, but maybe not as high as we'd like to see it. The second thing I'm going to talk about relative to working conditions is where principals are spending their time. So we asked principals in these 5 broad categories on the left-hand side of the screen, how much time are they spending on each of these? I oftentimes refer to this as our Goldilocks question. I'm spending much less time, somewhat less time, just the right amount of time, more time, or much more time than I'd like to in these particular areas. I'm going to highlight for you that there hasn't been a significant change in this since 2021. So the first iteration of the survey, November of 2021, was when we were still in the pandemic. We were in and out of classrooms, in and out of schools, trying to get 5-year-olds to keep masks on their face. So it wasn't shocking at that point that principals told us in the upper right-hand corner of that slide that they were spending much more time than they'd like to see on those internal administrative tasks and less time on those instructional tasks, which we all know are very important. This is what that data again looked like in 2021. This is what the data looked like in 2023, almost no change. And this is the data in 2025. So principals are telling us consistently over 6 years that they are spending much more time than they'd like on administrative tasks and not as much time as they'd like on those instructional tasks. The next topic that I'm going to briefly share is principals' self-efficacy. So these are confidence questions. So we asked principals 49 areas that they're supposed to carry out in their daily work, how confident they feel. Those 49 items fall into these 4 broad categories: school improvement, management and decision-making, culture and climate, and instructional leadership. When they respond to these, we then ask them, of the ones that you said you weren't super confident in, what are your areas of greatest concern? The number 1 area of greatest concern, principals tell us over and over for 6 years, is addressing student mental health challenges. The second greatest concern is addressing chronic absenteeism, which I'm going to get to in a moment as well. When we ask them about how things are going in their school buildings, this idea of challenges and successes with student behaviors came up. I want to pause and just give you one little insight into the design of the survey at this point. The survey stays consistent with the questions that we ask each year, with the exception of what we call the insert. So the insert is collectively designed by our advisory group, and it's a topic of the moment that is of concern to principals and those that are in the field of education. In the first iteration of the survey, not shockingly, it was COVID. In the second iteration of the survey, it was student mental health, and this time it was challenges and successes with student behaviors. Principals are telling us that they're spending about 43% of their workday on student behavior, and that about 80% of them tell us that it is significantly interfering with their ability to carry out their duties. Little bit of a good news is they tell us that most students are exhibiting their expected behavior most of the time. However, they're also telling us that these challenging behaviors have become more prevalent in the last few years, that they are representing a significant impact or barrier to student learning, and it's having a pretty negative impact on staff morale. We did put in some questions this time relative to student attendance because this has become an increasingly concerning area in the state of Minnesota. As I already mentioned, student attendance or chronic absenteeism was number 2 in their top challenges. We asked them what was their perception as to why they felt students might be absent from school. And they told us student mental health, lack of concern among parents or guardians, and then number 3 was students not wanting to be in school. What does that mean, right? So if the respondents chose students don't want to be in school, they got what we call a tree question or a branch off question. And in that case, we asked them why they believe students didn't want to be in school, and principals told us that they were concerned that students didn't see value. The last item I'm going to touch on briefly, because here I am at the legislature, is state education policy. We asked principals about 3 policy areas and what they felt was the impact. So the first being the READ Act, the second non-exclusionary discipline, and the third being K-3 suspension. What you see here is what they felt was the impact on educators on the left-hand side of the screen and students on the right-hand side of the screen. So this first slide is about the READ Act. So how much did they feel the READ Act had an impact? Positively would be in the green bars, and then negatively would be in the red bars. You can see from the displayed data here that overwhelmingly principals felt the READ Act is having a positive impact on both educators and students. The next one is non-exclusionary discipline. Again, educators on the left, students on the right. You see that distribution starts to move out a little bit further. And then last but not least, in K-3 suspension, you'll notice the bars drop way down. Only principals who had K-3 students in their school would get this question. That's why the N is down. You can see from the data that principals felt that the ban on K-3 suspension was not having a positive impact on educators or students. Next steps, we will release trend data in Tableau this summer where you can look at all 3 iterations of the survey in one place. We follow up the survey with focus groups. That's how we contextualize what the data actually means. And then we release what we call topical policy and practice briefs as well. I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague, Dr. Kemper.
Please state your name for the record and begin when you're ready.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Sarah Kemper, and I'm a research associate at the Center for Applied Research and Educational Improvement at the University of Minnesota. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. In addition to partnering with Dr. Pikel on the Minnesota Principal Survey, this past March, I led a second survey of Minnesota school leaders funded by the Minneapolis Foundation, designed to understand the impact of recent federal immigration enforcement operations on schools and students. Today, I'll be sharing a brief summary of survey findings, which are detailed in the full survey report. 352, or 22%, of Minnesota public school leaders completed the survey over 7 days. Response rates were similar across central, metro, northern, and southern Minnesota. We asked school leaders to characterize the impact of OMS on students' ability to learn. Statewide, about 80% reported a negative impact. Most others reported no impact, and very few reported a positive impact. Next, I'll highlight a few specific impacts reported on the survey, focusing on the presence of immigration officers on or near school property, detainments of students, parents, and guardians, and impacts on attendance and enrollment. Across the state, 81% of respondents reported at least one specific impact since December 2025. School leaders at 28 schools reported immigration officers on school property, and 161 school leaders reported officers within 2 blocks of school property. 49 students were reported detained, and 849 students had a parent or guardian detained. About 3 in 4 respondents reported an increase in student absences, with over 9,000 students reported to have been absent due to increased immigration enforcement. About 1,400 students were reported to have unenrolled or stopped coming to school entirely since December 2025. By contrast, 389 students were reported to have enrolled in a new school, approximately 90% of whom enrolled in an online program. These counts are likely underestimates, since roughly 1 in 5 principals responded to the survey, and not all who reported impacts provided specific counts. Other impacts shared in open-ended responses included mental health impacts, such as stress, anxiety, and fear, material and financial hardship experienced by families and the time and money needed to support them, a sense for some that OMS-related threats were overblown, and reports that OMS had had no impact. Across survey items, impacts were disproportionately felt among metro schools. However, at least 50% of schools in each region of the state reported that OMS had negatively impacted students' ability to learn. I'll now turn it over to Principals Julian Stanke and Mike Lemire to bring to life some of the survey findings Dr. Pickell and I have shared. Thank you.
Thank you very much. When you're ready, please state your name for the record and you can begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Mike Lemire. I'm the principal at Century Elementary in Park Rapids Area School District. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you some examples today of the impact on Operation Metro Surge in my district, as well as what it's like being a principal in Greater Minnesota. Operation Metro Surge impacted many of the students in my community. However, it unexpectedly and significantly impacted the Native American students and families in my community. During the initial operations, many Native American students directly asked me whether they were safe at school, on the bus, and in the community. Our staff worked hard to maintain a safe and supportive school environment, but fear was real. Others traveled hours. Some students missed school because families were afraid to leave their homes. Others traveled hours to obtain tribal identification cards in the case that they were stopped, missing school and work, and absorbing significant costs beyond their initial driver's license or other forms of identification. I became a principal because I have a passion for being an instructional leader, working alongside teachers to improve learning for students. Yet, the Minnesota Principal Survey consistently shows that principals lack the time to lead instruction. In my 11 years in administration, I have consistently seen an increase in the frequency, intensity, and duration of students who are dysregulated. In my pre-K through 6th grade school of 821 students, it is common for multiple adults, administrators, special education staff, paraprofessionals, and even our school resource officer to spend hours working with a single student in crisis. While these situations may only involve 5 or 6 students across my entire student population, they consume roughly 90% or more of our disciplinary time. That time is taken directly out of classrooms and has a negative impact on the other 800 plus students in my school. Suspension is never a first response, yet our inability to utilize this necessary tool hinders our ability to support students when their classroom is evacuated, debrief with teachers when the room has been destroyed, or adequately plan for the student returning to school the next days. Policies that limit tools for principals and options for principals to utilize add more work to our plates and do not account for the necessary staff to adequately see this through to help students grow and learn. Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for your time.
Thank you. And next, please state your name for the record and begin when you're ready.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Julian Stanke and I'm the principal at Birch Lake Elementary School in the White Bear Lake Area School District. And I'm honored to share with you today the impact of Operation Metro Surge on our Birch Lake community and on my role as a principal. Birch Lake Elementary is one of 9 elementary schools in the White Bear District. We have about 240 students in our kindergarten through 5th grade classrooms. And amongst our programs, we support approximately 17% of our students with multilingual services. During Operation Metro Surge, like many schools in the area, we had many families impacted by the increased presence of immigration enforcement. At the height of the operation, we had over 20 families who were afraid to leave their homes for any reason, and this directly impacted student attendance and learning. Bus stops were a particular concern for our impacted families. Staff from my building, including myself, volunteered to go to the bus stops daily in the morning and afternoon to be a supportive and familiar presence. One afternoon in January, I received a message from a parent alerting the school that there was a heavy presence at the bus stop apartments. The bus was already on the way, and after I arrived, I saw the presence still active. I had the bus returned to school. After 45 minutes of monitoring, we were able to reload the bus and get all students home safely, and this is just one of our building's experiences. As a principal, this time has been trying. Focus inevitably shifted from instructional leadership to what could be best described as crisis management. We navigated supporting families and their changing needs. We had students not coming to school, and some families decided to leave their homes in efforts to stay together. Responding to this operation was not a chapter in my principal playbook, and even with experience through the pandemic, This has warranted a new chapter. As a Latino man, this was very unnerving and often scary. I was born in Colombia and was adopted when I was 4 months old. I've lived in Minnesota since my adoption, and am proud to always have called Minnesota home. Carrying proof of my legal citizenship based on my ethnicity has been unsettling. I feared of the potential scenarios where immigration officers could come to my school and create a vulnerable situation for my students or myself. I'm constantly thinking about my wife and children, my school community, and working hard to be a leader for all, while also having a significant fears of the what-ifs and managing the tasks in my charge as a principal. In closing, I can share a note of hope that one of our first families to leave our school and community came to my office yesterday, and after arriving back in Minnesota after months away, will be starting school again at Birch Lake with the biggest smiles you've ever seen and an eagerness to learn with their friends and teachers again. Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you. Members, before we go to comments and questions, I'm just going to start. This is one of my principals, and I have seen firsthand him in action. He is not only an excellent principal, but when he is at school, he's highly popular with the teachers, the students, the families, very involved. Our community in White Bear Lake has been through so much. Right now we're talking about Operation Metro Surge, and I was there to witness all of the things that he's talking about. It was terrifying every day, all day long. And I just want to applaud the service that you bring to our community. You are so valued. But then on top of all of that, our community has just been through so much, and you've been on the front lines for that as well. So thank you for everything you do. This is what I would say if I wasn't chairing right now, so I just wanted to say it first. But we all really, really appreciate what you've done for our community and our school. Birch Lake is such a wonderful school district, or school building. The White Bear Lake is a good school district, of course, too. But I just thank you. And I'm sorry that you had to go through everything you did this fall. So, members, questions, comments? Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you both so much for being here, and thank you, Senator Bolden, for bringing this information to us. I think I represent School District 196, very large school district, wonderful. I'm a graduate of there, and you know, we hear like the stories and they kind of get generalized up, right? And so we'll say, here's the number of incidents, but like these are real kids. These are real teachers, they're real staff, real principals. And the story you shared about the family that's coming back this week, we had a community event last night, actually, at my middle school to talk a little bit about the ongoing impacts of Metro Surge. And there's a 9-year-old, an elementary school student, who hasn't gone to school since December. A 9-year-old who's missed school from December, and he went back Monday. And so I just think about the tremendous learning loss that's happening there, because there's just no replacement for in-school learning and playing and music and gym and all of those things. And so I appreciate you bringing the specific stories, because it's so important to remember these are real kids, and they were deeply, deeply impacted, as were their families. So it's hard to continue to talk about, but we have to continue talking about it, because the effects are going to be with us for years, if not longer. Thank you.
Members, any other questions or comments? Oh, Senator Swadzinski.
Thank you, Senator Bolden. I don't know if I have a question as much as I have, I think, 6 comments about this survey. And so bear with me, but I think, first of all, I applaud the 46% of schools that participated, but I'd like to know an additional survey, one question to the 54% that didn't respond. Why didn't you respond? That would be interesting information. And I'm guessing we might get 0 response to that, because they've already decided they didn't want to participate. But I think that'd be useful information. Is it too burdensome? Is it pointless? Why are they feeling like they don't want to participate? Second, on page 3, and thank you for numbering the slides, on page 3 of the presentation, a very unsettling number alongside addressing student behavior challenges, right, with the same number of responses, the single greatest challenge question. Second to student behavior was addressing staff mental health challenges. I don't, 33 years I spent in the classroom, I would have never have guessed at that time that those numbers would be the same. So again, just food for thought that you guys got me thinking today, and I appreciate that. Number 4, the chronic absenteeism, page 6 of the presentation. I'm just really surprised to see family vacations as a reason, a barrier to attendance for Minnesota students. I understand the need for families bonding to take place, but for that to be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th reason kids are missing school, I don't know what to say to those families, but I'd love to hear from you if you're listening in on school is the most important job we do as a state, and parenting is a more important job, believe me, but I'm just curious about why. In all my years of teaching, I can remember the now and then when a family would go on vacation and they were so, oh my God, sorry, Mr. Swedzinski, sorry, we're going, it's a rare opportunity for our family. I know, Lisa's gonna miss, 3 days of school, and and we'll bring you a t-shirt back from Disney World, and now to see that just being the norm, I don't know what to think about that either. I think I'm at number 5 on my comments on page 9. I'd love to know who you are, principals. If you are listening in on the 4 comments that principals made, I'd love that I get to do this work. I get to do this work. I know what I signed up for and the energy it takes, but it is worth it. I have enjoyed my 34 career up to date. I hope to finish with a smile on my face and joy in my heart. I love my job. It's just seemingly more and more impossible these days. I love my job because I have amazing teachers and staff. Whoever you 4 principals are, let me know. I'm curious who you are and why it is that we're struggling so much with retention and recruitment and a revival of the importance of education, why it is that you still have that joy in your job. And then lastly, on the handout from you guys, you made the comment, the summary, this is more of a negative to everything you've presented today. I'm very worried about the future of public education, particularly the increasingly difficult task of hiring and retaining talented staff members. I don't know what to say to all this other than thank you for the survey. Thank you for the presentation, Senator Bolden. There's some good news in here and some pretty bad news, but it's a survey, and I appreciate that all the 46% of our principals that participated in it, because it's very useful information, and it's going to give us a great deal to think about in the coming weeks, days, years. So thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Members, any other questions or comments? Oh, Senator Clark.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for bringing this. In the survey, there was a response on internal administrative tasks occurring somewhat more than anticipated. I'm a little bit like, well, it's middle management. You're going to have a lot of administrative tasks. So I don't know if we have a sort of a set expectation of principals. You should be spending, of your 56 hours a week, a third of that is internal administrative staff. So I don't know if there's a benchmarking to sort of help when we're setting out a survey, or we hear you, and that's actually what it should be. So in that, I don't know if there's, as you continue to listen, if there's is benchmarking that is available in that. So I guess there's a little bit of a question in that. Is there a benchmark on what administrative tasks should be?
Sorry, to the testifier.
Thank you, Chair. And to answer your question, Senator Clark, yes, research would show that if we really are going to move the needle on student achievement, that principals need to be spending the majority of their time on what we would call instructional leadership, which is coaching of teachers, it's data analysis of student assessment, et cetera. You're pretty close to on the mark at about 30% of their time is what you accurately are identifying as, quote, middle management. And what I think that the data here is showing, and this is my interpretation of it, so is that we are actually asking principals to do more and more of those types of internal administrative tasks, which is taking away from so the urgent is sort of crowding out the important in that case. But I'm of course happy to send you a research report because that's what we like to do at the University of Minnesota.
Thank you. Senator Clark.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you. And as the senator representing the University of Minnesota Minneapolis campus,
I know.
I love reading the reports as well. So thank you. And to the principals, thank you for sharing the stories I mostly heard from my children and their peers on where they encountered ICE was not at the school, but on their commute to school. So driving at 27th and Johnson and seeing a man pulled out of his car, that it wasn't just, White Bear Lake, that was all over the state. So thank you for reinforcing that it's not just our individual school sites, but it was really the commute to school that was so traumatic. Thank you.
All right, members, any other questions or comments? All right, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, Senator Bolden, and the survey. Thank you to all the people who testified. Thank you, Mr. Stanky in particular. Go Bears. Next, we're going to hear a presentation from the Legislative Coordinating Commission on the Seclusion Working Group report. And I believe we're starting with Andrew George. When you're ready, please begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, for the record, my name is Andrew George. I'm a research analyst with the Legislative Coordinating Commission. It's a nonpartisan joint office, so staffing and research support for these joint task forces and working groups like the Seclusion Working Group. I've been asked today to provide an overview of the working group and the report, so I'll just do a brief presentation on that before handing it off to Senator Seeberger. The Seclusion Working Group was established to evaluate the use of seclusion as an emergency procedure and not as a discipline as required under Minnesota statutes section 125A.0942. The working group met 11 times between August 2025 and January 2026 and was chaired by Senator Seeberger. The working group members are on, and I'll be referring to the final report that should be in your packets. The membership is listed on page 6. There are 4 legislative appointments from each of the 4 caucuses and 12 joint appointments representing various special education directors, special education cooperative units, parents of family of students who have been secluded, teachers in special education settings, paraprofessionals, as well as school psychologists and counselors. And then as well, organizations that represent students disproportionately affected by the use of restrictive procedures. There were 8 duties outlined by the enabling statute for the working group. Those were to evaluate the effectiveness of seclusion compared to other restrictive procedures, analyze how the lack of alternatives to seclusion forces children and families to interact with the criminal justice system, to evaluate workable alternatives to seclusion, to consider seclusion's effects on children's mental health and access to public education and well-being, to identify new and existing resources necessary for staff capacity and training, as well as student support and mental health services. The working group also was required to visit school sites that use seclusion, review applicable laws defining and regulating seclusion in schools, and finally to submit its report in your packets by January 30th of this year. I'll give a brief overview of the presentations and testimony. The working group invited testimony from stakeholders, special education staff, students, parents, and advocates to present information and data on seclusion and restrictive procedures. That begins on page 7 of the report. Most of the data that the working group was able to did compile is from the Department of Education, and that included data on seclusion, other restrictive procedures, injuries to staff and students, demographics, and violations of the restrictive procedure statute. The working group also heard from school districts that utilize registered seclusion rooms and really trying to quantify and analyze what does seclusion look like in practice. The seclusion working group also heard testimony from school districts that do not use seclusion and received information on various student supports and alternative seclusion, and that included presentations on UKERU. The working group also heard testimony on the importance of school-linked mental health from the Department of Human Services in Hennepin County. It heard testimony and presentations on seclusion's disproportionate use and adverse outcomes, as well as violations of the Restrictive Procedure Statute, and conducted a site visit to Pancalo Education Center in ISD 916 to view their building, their facility, and their seclusion room. The working group's recommendations begin on page 22 of the report, and they're separated into 7 categories, and I'll do a fairly high-level overview. So the specifics, the recommendations go into more specifics than I have listed here, but they begin on page 22. So this first category is a recommendation on mandatory staff training, supports and culture shift, to mandate and fund annual standardized evidence-based staff training for all special education staff, and to mandate and fund annual standardized evidence-based staff training for all school staff. On page 23 includes recommendations for enhanced requirements for the individual education plan, IEP. This was to include mental health professional when considering addition of seclusion to a student's IEP, to add requirements for express consent and proactive agreement to IEP for seclusion use. The IEP team must review the seclusion data, and that includes frequency and duration, no less than annually or whenever requested by a student's parent or guardian, as well as for students who experience seclusion but don't have seclusion in their IEP, that team must convene within 10 days of the use of seclusion. Recommendations also, the group found that data collection needs to be enhanced generally for seclusion. So there's recommendations for that, data collection, monitoring, and accountability. First, there is district-based data accountability, so continuing continuation of quarterly district-based restrictive procedures oversight committee. MDE-based, so the Department of Education, data accountability, requiring an annual review and setting of strategic targets for training and improvement. MDE would set an annual seclusion rate threshold and a rate of decrease for the use of seclusion. If a district is above that threshold or their use data is not improving at an acceptable rate, then the district must adopt a vetted seclusion alternative if paired with funding. Additionally, recommendation to include the use of restrictive procedures for each school district and include that information on the Minnesota report card, as well as to enhance MDE's legislative report and include how seclusion may correlate with police and EMS involvement, student staff injuries, expulsion and suspensions, physical holds, home-based or level 4 placements, and other negative outcomes. Another recommendation was to, on page 24 of the report, was for alternatives to seclusion, and this is to require that MDE research, vet, and identify alternative programs and interventions known to reduce the need for seclusion. Some very specifics that the department must make available, a list of recommended alternatives. MDE must list some school district contacts, and the department must continue to regularly provide districts with information for professional development opportunities. Pages 24 through 25 of the report, members really underscored the importance of funding for their recommendations. So direct funding should be utilized whenever possible, and funding for alternatives to seclusion, related services, and mental health services. On pages 25 through 26 of the report are a set of Senator Seeberger's recommendations that were adopted that modify the timeline of the seclusion ban and requirements. This would amend the restrictive procedure statute to change the ban on seclusion use on children from birth to kindergarten and remove the deadline to end seclusion, to prohibit the use of seclusion on children grade 1 through grade 12 unless seclusion is explicitly agreed to as provided in the restrictive procedure statute, provides some additional IEP team requirements, provides that parents and guardians must be shown the seclusion room before explicitly written, providing explicit written consent for seclusion use, provides that judges or other presiding officials be prohibited from ordering seclusion over objection from the parent or guardian, and then require some additional data requirements from the school districts and for MDE. And then finally, on pages 26 through 27 of the report, includes a set of recommendations from MACE, the Minnesota Administrators for Special Education, that were adopted. And these were to contingent on the adoption of other working group recommendations that would permit the limited use of seclusion for students in grade 1 through 12 receiving setting 3 or setting 4 special education services until July 1st, 2036, as well as some various appropriations requirements to be provided to strengthen the continuum of behavior interventions, including alternatives to seclusion. The use of seclusion would sunset at that time, as well as a requirement that MDE must analyze the efficacy of UKERU, in addition to other vetted and funded interventions and alternatives to seclusion. And then finally, MDE must collect and study the data related to the reduction or elimination of seclusion. And this includes physical holds, including supine holds, suspensions, home-based placements, law enforcement interventions, rates of student and staff injuries, and more. That, Madam Chair and members, concludes my walkthrough of the report and the working group's work. I'm happy to answer any questions on that.
Members, any questions or comments? Senator McQuaid?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. George, were you present at the working group meetings?
Yes, I am there to help support and research and staff those working group meetings. Thank you.
Members, any other questions or comments? Oh, sorry, Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Mr.
That wasn't your only question?
No, that was not my only question. Insightful though it was. Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. George, I'm looking on the full report, page 25. Can you walk me through what happened at the January 21st meeting with the recommendations and the votes?
Mr. George? Oh.
Actually, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to actually just read it out loud. So it looks like the working group, as a final recommendation for what we see before us, there was a roll call of 7 ayes and 5 nays. After the roll call, Representative Seeberger requested to change her vote from aye to nay, and then a motion was made not to reopen the roll call, which passed on a voice vote, and her request to note her mistaken vote was recorded in the minutes. Can you just talk to me about that?
Mr. George?
Yeah, Madam Chair, Senator McQuaid, this was a vote that occurred. A roll call was requested. Representative Seeberger voted aye, and then requested to change her vote to nay after the roll call was closed, and then a motion was made to essentially not reopen the roll, and that vote kept the roll essentially closed. It was, yes.
Senator McQuaid?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Was a roll call requested for that motion to reopen or not to reopen?
No. Apologies. Madam Chair, Senator McQuaid, a roll call was not requested.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so, Mr. George, if I'm reading these notes correctly, if everyone had voted how they had wanted to vote, this recommendation would have failed on a tie.
Maybe I can jump in.
Oh, Senator Seeberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator McQuaid, if I had voted in 2023 the way I had wanted to vote on the omnibus bill, I was unaware that there was a prohibition in there to prohibit seclusion in grades 1 through 3. If I was aware of that in 2023, I would have been a no on the omnibus vote. Sometimes votes happen, and in hindsight, if a person wasn't listening or wasn't paying attention, as was the case with Representative Seeberger, you have to live by your vote. I've been living with this vote since 2023 and trying to fix the problems that we caused with this irresponsible ban on seclusion in grades 1 through 3. So while I was sympathetic to Representative Sensor-Murrah in that she wasn't paying attention and voted on something that she did not understand or intend to vote on, procedurally, we were not able to open the vote and correct it, but it was noted in the record.
Senator McQueen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, and Senator Seeberger, we have, and this happens all the time, when we vote incorrectly on the floor, we make a motion to reconsider. Now, years after, we can't do that, of course, but in the moment, we of course can. And so I wanted to get more information about this because I think not giving due courtesy to our fellow colleagues, especially to vote in the correct way, is concerning. And so I'm noting here in this full report that these recommendations would not have passed if everybody had been able to vote how they actually wanted to vote. So we can move on from the presentation of the report. I guess maybe the final.
Well, I'd like to address that, if I may, Madam Chair.
Senator Seeberger.
We met 11 times. We had a very respectful process. We had a lot of discussions. Knowing that we had saved that last session to vote on the hard stuff, we got the easy stuff out of the way. Folks came together and came up with a lot of really good recommendations. It was the hard stuff that we saved for the last day. So knowing that we are voting on the things that are difficult, where there is tension, where there is not full agreement, every member of the working group has the obligation to be present, to be listening, to be engaged, out of respect for everybody else on the working groups who's there doing the same thing. If they're not present, not engaged, not listening, and make a mistake, that's on them. And if members of the Senate and the House were respectful to me in trying to solve this problem, maybe I would have been a little more accommodating to Representative Sensor-Murrah. But the barriers I've encountered, the hostility that I've encountered, the lies that I've had to battle, the disparaging comments that have been directed at me, folks telling me I'm trying to lock kids in closets, misinformation, insulting me as a parent and as a licensed teacher. You'll forgive me if I'm not willing to extend any courtesy to someone who has not extended any to me.
And Senator Seeberger, thank you. I want to apologize to Senator McQuaid. She was interrupted while she was completing her sentence. So if I just could ask that those at the testifier table let the senators complete their question. Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this doesn't have to be hostile. I think I'm recognizing what's in this report, and I understand that there are a lot of feelings about it. It doesn't mean that we can go around our processes. And I think what I was wondering for Mr. George, if you could outline for me from the entirety of the recommendations, can you tell me what were things, were they all voted on or were just some voted on? And if all of them were voted on, can you note for me ones that were unanimous, ones that passed by a majority, and then ones that would not have passed if everyone had been able to vote the way that they were allowed to or wanted to?
Mr. George.
Madam Chair, Senator McQuaid. The first 5 recommendations were adopted. I can't remember the date of the meeting, but they were adopted unanimously with a voice vote. So those were mandatory staff training, staff supports and culture shift, IEP requirements, data collection, monitoring, and accountability, alternatives to seclusion, and funding. Those were adopted with a voice vote. The chair's recommendation, section C, and that is what I have in the presentation here, modifying timeline of seclusion ban and requirements. That was this a mistaken vote, essentially, that you're referring to, that would not have passed had it been corrected. And then the final recommendation, the MACE recommendation, passed with a roll call vote, and that was a correct vote, essentially, a majority, 6-5.
Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the last one, it was 6-5 on this last one?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And.
Sorry,
apologies,
Mr. George.
Madam Chair, The minutes of the meeting would include the members and their votes specifically.
Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I just want to add something for members to think about as it's being told us that we should have allowed people to vote the way they wanted to. One could argue the point the votes were the way they wanted to, and after the roll was closed, pressure was put on people to reconsider their vote. We've seen that over and over, and I think Senator Seeberger would agree that that has happened. So let's consider all the things that might have happened in regard to that vote.
Senator McQuaid, then Senator Lang.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. George, can you walk me through the meeting? How soon after the roll call vote did Representative Sensor-Mura ask to change her vote?
Mr. George.
Madam Chair, Senator McQuaid, it was immediately after.
Immediately
The
after.
next thing, yes.
And did,
Sorry, Senator McQuaid.
thank you, Madam Chair. And Mr. George, did anybody come up to Representative Sensor-Mura, pull her outside, come back in later, or was it just she realized in that moment she had said the wrong thing?
Mr. George.
Madam Chair, Senator McQuaid, it was a virtual meeting, so if I'm remembering. What's that?
We were in person, she was virtual.
This meeting, I believe, was remote. It was fully remote. This is Senator McQuaid. It was a remote meeting, so I believe after the roll call was closed, the vote total was read, then the request was made to change the vote.
Thank you.
Senator Lang.
Well, thank you, excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. George, Senator Seeberger. I think this is the way it's supposed to work. This is the way when the legislature has a substantial piece of legislation they're considering that you do a work group prior to passing it. You do the due diligence that we should be conducting on every bill of that sort of significance. I'd like to talk about your bill, and I know it's coming up soon, but I think, and this is something where I don't have kids that this affects, so I don't know. So we trust the experts. We trust a working group. We trust people that are in the position where they know what seclusion means. And I don't think this is a place where the legislature should have passed it without actually doing the background, without actually doing the work, which you've done now. So I appreciate the report. I appreciate the bill that's coming up before us. So thank you.
Senator Rarick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We all have these devices in our hands. You don't need somebody to come up to you in person to be intimidated to change your vote. It can happen immediately across our communication devices today.
Members, any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you very much. We're moving on now to SF 4677. Senator Seeberger, you are up with your bill. Let's see, Senator Wadzinski, would you like to move SF 4677 before the committee? So moved. All right, Senator Seeberger, to your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. It is my pleasure to be here before you on Senate File 4677, which is a bill that was formulated out of the recommendations that came from our seclusion working group. Mr. George did an excellent walkthrough of what we did. I want to dig a little deeper into what we did, what we talked about, and how we came to these recommendations and ultimately the bill that's before you today. As Mr. George mentioned, we met 11 times through from August of 2025 through January of 2026. We had excellent discussions. We did the work, as Senator Lang pointed out. We drilled down into these issues. We talked them through. We did the work that should have been done before the ban was placed in 2023. We identified problems with the system. We identified strengths with the system. And we were able to really get down to some of the root causes of what we're seeing, some of the problems that we're seeing, and come to find a lot of areas of agreement among all the stakeholders in this process. The bottom line that we came to, Madam Chair and members, nobody wants to use seclusion. Nobody wants it. We all want to see it gone from our toolbox. But what we recognized is there is no good alternative at this moment to fill that gap. As we know, seclusion is a last resort. It is used to keep everyone safe when an emergency happens. It is not discipline. It should not be used as discipline. And in fact, it's illegal to use it as discipline. Our law does not allow that. There are strict parameters for its use. This is the approach Minnesota has taken rather than banning seclusion, recognizing the need that sometimes when an emergency happens, physical separation is needed to keep everyone safe. Since we've eliminated the use of seclusion up to 3rd grade, we have seen an increase in physical holds, and we've seen an increase in injuries. I would direct the committee to page 12 of the report. I hope you have that in front of you. Page 12 shows some data. If you look at the top of the page, there's a chart. In the 2021-22 school year, there were 13,289 physical holds reported. 2022-23, 12,405. Now we're kind of in the COVID years. 23-24, 14,000. In the 24-25 school year, which is the first school year without being able to use seclusion in grades 1 through 3, we see almost 20,000 incidents of physical holds. This is a dramatic increase. Moving down to staff injuries, 2021-22, 801. The following year, 920. The following year, 1,200. In 24 and 25, almost 2,000 incidents of staff injuries. This is unacceptable. This year during session, I've had many meetings with educators from my district, arranged by Ed Minnesota. Come in and talk to the educators. I love speaking to teachers. I am a teacher. And I'd like to hear what's important to them and what they're encountering during their work with our kids. Without prompting them, without bringing up my work on the seclusion work group, I have heard educator after educator after educator talk to me about getting injured by our littlest learners. I had one in my office yesterday who talked about, I want to say it was a 2nd grader who slapped him harder than he's ever been hit. He said, "I'm a wrestler. That was harder than I've ever been hit," and caused a concussion in 2 other staff members. My own son, love him. He's great. He testified before the working group. When he was in 2nd grade, he broke his Paris thumb. Our littlest learners are causing the biggest injuries. Not only are we seeing an increase in physical holds and an increase in injuries to staff, but let's think this through. If you have a little learner who is lashing out, so dysregulated that people are getting hurt, physical holds are not keeping everyone safe, your last resort is to contact law enforcement. Is this what we want? Do we want to feed the school to prison pipeline? I don't want that. That happened to my kid too. Do we want to lock up elementary school students? That happened to my boy. And let me tell you, it was a horrible experience. That's not what we should be doing, and that is a terrible, terrible thing for schools to have to be put in that untenable position of having the last resort to keep anyone safe by calling law enforcement. Nobody can meet my eye right now. I'm looking at everyone on the committee. Nobody's looking at me. I'm telling you this personal story about what my family went through. People are on their phone, they're doing something else, they're not looking at me. How insulting is that? How personal for me to come before you and talk about what happened to my family, my child, being arrested at school for being dysregulated and taken to Ramsey County Juvenile Detention, me receiving a phone call when I was teaching middle school English saying, "I just took your boy and dropped him off at Ramsey County Detention on a Friday." And I said, "How do I get him out?" "You probably can't. It's the weekend. There's no judge." How does that feel as a parent of an elementary school-aged kid? That's a horrible feeling. I don't want any other parent to go through that. That's the last thing that a kid should experience when they go to school. My concern is, by taking away a tool, we are now feeding that system. I want to acknowledge the excellent work of our educators who work with our kids with the highest needs in a setting 3 and a setting 4 school. If you guys haven't been to a setting 3 or setting 4 school, you should really go, because you are making policy with regard to that student body. A setting 4 school is a separate public day program. It's a day program. If you haven't been to one, please go. Understand this student population for whom you are making regulations and laws. The educators and staff who work there are amazing. They are experts in de-escalation strategies. They are experts at meeting kids where they are. They are experts at managing crisis situations and managing their own trauma day after day after day. And I want to acknowledge them, some of whom are sitting next to me at this table, for the hard work that they do and the important work that they do to support our littlest learners who have the highest needs. We toured a school called Pankalo, a setting 4 elementary school in Lake Elmo, which is thoughtfully designed. Everything that went into that school was designed to support these students. And yes, it has a seclusion room, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But what struck me about the design of the school was the willingness of teachers and staff to do whatever it took to support the needs of these students. And when everything they tried didn't work, and an emergency happened, they have the ability to separate, cause that physical separation, keep everybody safe, wait for the storm to pass, and then help the student come back. They have a little treat cart. Come out of seclusion after a moment of dysregulation, a lot of physical activity. You're going to be tired, thirsty, hungry. They have a little cart that has water, juice boxes, snacks to help welcome that student back, reintegrate them into their day, whatever that might look like. There was a quote from one of our work group members that said, "School is one of, if not the only place, that we do not refuse services for children. If you are thinking about hospitals, residential treatment centers, outpatient or inpatient therapy, behavioral center incidences often results in those students no longer being able to access those services. This is not the case for school. We attempt to always welcome them back." And that's been my experience too. And I'm grateful for the educators here who have the expertise and who are specialists in working with this population of students. So I want to acknowledge their hard work, and I want to acknowledge their perspective as experts and specialists in this area. So I want to address the concerns of the opponents to my bill, who you will hear from today. You will hear that seclusion is used as a disciplinary tool. It should never be used for discipline. We looked at that in the work group. I wanted to know, where is it being misused? What is happening? We heard all these anecdotal stories about kids being locked in closets, being put into seclusion all day, food withheld, them wetting their pants, not leaving, trauma, terrible stories. And I want to know, if this is happening, I want to know where. I want to know which districts. I want to know when. I want to know why. Is it because they don't know the law? Is it because they're disregarding the law? Or is it because they need additional resources? And Madam Chair and members of the commission, we were not able to substantiate any one of those incidences. There was an opportunity for these advocates and activists to come forward and tell us, where is this happening? They could not. Some activists like to use the words solitary confinement when they talk about seclusion. And let me tell you, as a parent of a kid who needed seclusion from time to time, that's insulting. That's absolutely insulting to me as a parent and to my kid. My kid, who's now 21, was able to come and testify before our work group. And he said, I didn't have the words to talk about what was happening to me when I was that age, but I can tell you now. When I was
that dysregulated, and he always aggressed toward adults. When I was that dysregulated, an adult was next to me or had their hands on me, so think physical hold, the fight was still happening. He was not going to stop fighting as long as that adult was still holding him. As soon as he was separated from that adult and that door closed, the switch flipped. That's what he needed. How much trauma are we inflicting on other kids like my son, who cannot disengage as long as somebody is holding them down, who need that separation? We have done a disservice not only to those students, but to the trained specialists and experts who have been asked to respond to emergency situations by causing more trauma to kids and more injuries to staff. That's what we did in 2023. Now, we heard feedback from parents who said that seclusion traumatized their kids. I believe that. I believe that it did, and I believe their stories. For those students, seclusion is not appropriate. This is not a one-size-fits-all tool. That's why my bill addresses that. That's why my bill ensures that before you agree to use seclusion, everybody's got to be on board. You have to have all the parents and caregivers on board. You have to have mental health professionals on the IEP team so they can identify contraindications to its use. You have to physically take the parents and caregivers over and show them the seclusion room so they understand. If they're sitting, now, being a parent in IEP meetings, they're full of jargon. They're stressful situations because you're dealing with your kid who has significant needs. IEP meetings are exhausting. It's usually the only thing I could do in a day. I would take off work I was a full-time practicing trial attorney. I would take the day off. I could not go back to work. They were so exhausting. I can only imagine how difficult they are if English is not your native language, if you have cultural differences that you don't understand, and the feeling of being around a table with a lot of different people in the school trying to talk you into doing something. That's sometimes how it feels. And so I heard those concerns when it came to seclusion. And so in my bill, the caregivers, we got to walk down the hall and take a look at the room so you understand this is the room that we use. This is what it looks like. You can go in there. I'll show you the locking system. We'll talk it through. My bill also provides them with whatever cultural or language supports they need to fully understand. And if one person is not an unequivocal, enthusiastic yes, seclusion will not be used. These are additional safeguards built in to the system that would start at grade 1 and end at grade 12. We have none of these safeguards from grades 4 through 12 right now. The objections are to including grades 1 through 3. They're going to call it a rollback. They're going to call it a walking back, going backwards. That's not what we're doing. What we're doing is doing what we should have done in the first place, and that's listening to the professionals, giving them a runway to transition without yoinking a tool out from their toolbox and leaving them in a position of trying to backpedal and figure out how to backfill that. Nobody wants to use seclusion. My bill sunsets it in 2036. We identified a date. But that's conditioned on we find a substitute. We heard about alternatives to seclusion, and it should come as no surprise to members of this committee that there's not been a lot of research done in this area. We tried to figure out what else is there? What do we have? What's been vetted? There's not a lot. There's one program, and we were able to hear a lot about it and tour it. It's called Ukeru, and it has to do with some blue mats. And the idea is these mats are all over the school, so kids can play with them, they can build forts out of them, they see them, they can lay on them, read on them. It becomes a part of their day. And if there's a dysregulated student that there's an emergency happening, staff can grab these mats and surround the student and keep everyone safe.
It's a very promising program, but it is so new, we don't have data to fully understand if this is something that'll work throughout the state. The schools that are using it are kind of we think it's pretty good, but they need more data and more time. It's also expensive to implement. There's a lot of training that goes into it and equipment. It's a promising substitute. It may not be the only substitute, but I think our schools deserve the opportunity to find a suitable substitute before we take away a tool that keeps everyone safe. That's what my bill does. Finally, you'll see that there's some blank appropriations. If we're asking our teachers and our specialists and our educators and our experts to do more, to adopt different programs, then we have to provide them the money to do that. A lot of the things in my bill were agreed to by everyone. Some of them were not. The sticking point is, do we allow seclusion for our littlest learners in grades 1 through 3? Again, nobody wants seclusion, but right now it's a tool that we have to keep people safe. With that, I'll turn it over to my testifiers.
Madam Chair.
Oh, what is that? Yes, Senator Uma verbatim.
I know we have a lot of testifiers. I was just wondering if I could ask Senator Seeberger one brief question. She had mentioned our littlest learners being like the source of the majority of injuries. Please correct me on the statement you were making. Could you just provide the ages? Because I just want to make sure I'm understanding the ages you're talking about when you said littlest learners before we
Senator
proceed.
Seeberger?
Thank you.
I'm referencing those in grades 1 through 3, and I'm not saying they cause the most injuries. I'm saying they cause some of the most significant injuries. And I'll say even my own son in preschool hurt people. Little guys can pack a wall up. I wish they didn't, but they do. Follow up? Okay. All right, so with that, I believe we are to our testifiers, and so do we have Nicole Woodward and Kate Hulsup here? Yes. Okay. Ms. Woodward, if you'd like to state your name for the record, and you may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Nicole Woodward, and I am the Executive Director of the St. Croix River Education District, representing Minnesota Administrators for Special Education, or MACE. I am testifying today in support of Senate File 4677. I know some of you have already made up your mind about seclusion, and I'm asking you, at least for the next few minutes, to reconsider. From August to January this past year, I had the privilege of serving on the seclusion work group. During that time, I heard extensive testimony from a wide range of perspectives. We heard real accounts of the misuse of seclusion, of parents who felt they didn't have a voice, and of students who were negatively impacted by the practice. None of this is acceptable. MACE stands firm on that. At the same time, we heard from staff working to keep students and themselves safe in moments of crisis. Seclusion was described as an essential tool by parents and schools for a small number of students when used appropriately, during emergencies, and in partnership with families and mental health professionals. For some, it prevented serious injury, more restrictive placements, and the involvement of law enforcement. For 6 months, we wrestled with these competing realities. We reviewed the research and worked collaboratively to identify meaningful and practical solutions. This was the charge you gave us, and the resulting recommendations must be seriously considered. Our recommendations do 3 very critical things. First, they sharply limit when and where seclusion can be used, focusing only on the most restrictive settings and students with the most significant and complex needs. And it increases staff training. Second, it substantively strengthens safeguards for students and families. Our recommendations require a mental health professional on the IEP team, expressed and written parental consent before seclusion can be used, and ongoing data collection and review. These changes reduce risk, center parents as partners in decision-making, and ensure that the efficacy of the practice is continually evaluated. And third, the bill creates real accountability. We charge the Minnesota Department of Education with setting clear annual thresholds for the use of seclusion, so expectations to reduce its use are explicit for the first time. By leveraging existing accountability structures to closely monitor the use of seclusion, the MDE can closely monitor the use and quickly identify districts using it disproportionately or inappropriately. Those districts would be required to adopt vetted alternatives and implement corrective action plans, targeting solutions where problems exist. Do these recommendations increase administrative burden? Yes. Do they add steps and paperwork for IEP teams? They do. But we do believe that these changes are necessary and appropriate. That is a resounding yes. We can do better. I understand the allure of banning seclusion as a practice. It swiftly and completely addresses any concerns regarding the use of seclusion and its impact on students. It is the simplest solution, but not the most responsible one. It's not. The decision to ban seclusion through grade 3 was made too quickly and without consideration of other alternatives that could more strategically and sustainably address the concerns, and there have been unintended consequences. Our work group honored our commitment to evaluate the use of seclusion as an emergency procedure, and we successfully achieved our objectives. This bill reflects careful, balanced work and a commitment to both safety and accountability. I urge you to support Senate File 4677.
Thank you, Ms. Woodward. Next, we're going to hear from Kate Hulse, and we have a long list of testifiers. So I'm going to ask Doran Corte to join us at the table next, and we'll move right through the testifying list. Ms. Hulse, if you'd like to identify yourself for the committee and begin.
Certainly. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kate Hulse, and I serve as the Director of Social Emotional Learning at Intermediate District 917. I'm a licensed school administrator and nationally certified school psychologist, and I've been working in federal Setting 3 and Setting 4 programs, and 10 of those were spent as an administrator. I also had the privilege of serving on the Legislative Working Group for Seclusion this past fall and winter, and I'm here today to testify in support of this bill. We need a full continuum of tools and supports. In our special education setting, students' needs are often incredibly intense, as you heard from Senator Seeberger. The educators who serve our children with significant disabilities are some of the most talented, compassionate, and dedicated professionals that I know, but compassion alone does not maintain a safe environment. We need a full continuum of tools, supports, and training available to us to do our work safely. Currently, every student-facing staff member in my district, from paraprofessionals to principals, receives annual training on the Restrictive Procedures Statute. Staff also receive training on the Nurtured Heart approach, which is a mindset-based approach for staff to help foster positive relationships, and one that encourages adults to help children and young adults recognize their own inner wealth and worth. And they are also trained in professional crisis management for physical holds and the regulated use of registered seclusion as a last resort safety measure. Finally, we as a district are also rolling out UKERU in our district, which involves the non-restrictive use of those blue blocking pads and shields in emergencies. We're doing that work and it's going quite well, but we're currently at about 2/3 implementation in our district, and this is after 2 years. Despite this high level of training in both crisis prevention and intervention strategies, the reality of the work sometimes includes serious physical injury to staff. It's not uncommon for staff to experience kicks, bites, punches, and headbutts, and this results in bruises, lacerations, and even fractures and concussions. Additionally, we must also recognize that schools often are often the only safety net left when the rest of the systems that are built to help can't help. When there's a lack of day treatment, when children are boarding in ERs because of a lack of inpatient beds, and when wait lists for therapists and psychiatrists are months long, behavioral crises don't disappear, they simply happen in the classroom. We need to keep seclusion for now to continue to manage high-intensity emergencies safely. Which brings me to my second point. the necessity of a 10-year runway before sunsetting seclusion as the tool of last resort. This runway is not dead time, it's critical work time for schools and districts. It takes years to research, pilot, and implement new social-emotional frameworks and crisis management tools and implement them with fidelity. In many cases, we're talking about shifting the culture of a school building or an entire school district. It can be done, but it takes time and work. Furthermore, in the midst of an historic educator shortage, we're continuously hiring new staff, growing our own through pipeline programs, and welcoming international educators. Centering school and district culture through continuous change is challenging, but this dedicated time will help to ensure that local education agencies can select and implement evidence-based crisis prevention and intervention approaches and use tools that are good for kids and that will be sustainable alternatives to seclusion in the long run. This runway also allows for essential collaboration between schools and districts as they shift away from seclusion. It will allow opportunities for educators and districts to share what's working for them and promote time for partnerships, whether through MACE, local collaboratives, or informal partnerships. For many, especially those in rural Minnesota, the opportunity to share data and best practices on alternative tools such as the Nurtured Heart approach and UKERU is crucial. This 10-year window ensures that no district or school is forced to navigate this transition in isolation. Finally, this time, coupled with the proposed data thresholds provided by MDE during this period, will allow us as educators to engage in continuous improvement as we steadily decrease our seclusion towards 2036. As special educators, we want to reach the day when seclusion is no longer necessary in our schools, but we must ensure that the runway is long enough to land the plane safely for the sake of our students and our staff. I urge you to support Senate File 4677, and I thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Ms. Hulse. Going forward, because of our time, we are going to limit testifying to 2 minutes. So we have Darren Corte on the list, and then Jessica Heiser, if you would like to join us. And then please wrap your thoughts up when the timer goes off. We're going to set a timer here. And Mr. Corte, if you'd like to begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. My name is Darren Cordy. I'm an Assistant Commissioner at the Minnesota Department of Education. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I will keep my comments brief since we've been on the record a few times with this and also submitted a letter to the work group that we can share with you. The department's been on the record that we believe that the use of seclusion can and should be eliminated from use in Minnesota schools. We do understand that this change would be significant and would require time, resources, and funding. This is something that we continue to work with our partners on. It is something that is part of the draft Olmsted plan that the Minnesota Department of Education is a part of and is currently soliciting public comment on. And we continue to work with our partners on this process. I also want to acknowledge the good work that schools are doing in this area. I agree with Senator Seeberger that districts don't want to be using seclusion. We've seen lots of good use of programs such as UKERU. I also want to call out the use of the Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, or PBIS, that is used statewide. We have one of the most robust uses of PBIS across the state in terms of fidelity of implementation and widespread use. But all that being said, we simply, as an agency, do not support a proposal that would expand the allowable uses of seclusion in Minnesota schools and bring us back in a position where we were a couple of years ago. So with that, I'll conclude my testimony. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Heiser, you are next, and if Aaron Sandsmark would join us at the table. And you may begin. Introduce yourself first.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Jessica Heiser. I'm a supervising attorney with Minnesota Disability Law Center, which is part of Minnesota Legal Aid. I am a former educator, like the senator, an attorney for school districts, and an attorney for children with disabilities. And I've spent the better part of the last year on this issue of seclusion. The law as it stands now was the product of good faith negotiations between organizations like mine, MACE, MASA, and MDE, and it's only been in effect for 1 school year. What we've been doing together in Minnesota is working to end this traumatic practice, and it's reflective of what's happened across the country. In the last 10 years, almost a quarter of states have outright banned seclusion for all children at all ages. And it's not a partisan issue. These are red states, blue states, purple states, from Florida to New York, California to Hawaii, all recognizing that the solitary confinement of children is an antiquated and traumatic practice. At the federal level, there's bipartisan support for the Keeping All Students Safe Act, which bans the use of seclusion in all schools that receive federal funding. That was introduced by Republican, Democratic, and independent legislators. And the Department of Justice, under both President Trump's administrations, President Biden, President Obama, have all consistently shut down seclusion in schools, using it as a violation of federal law. So by the time we've been talking about it, studying it, and taking baby steps in the right direction in Minnesota for over 15 years now of concentrated stakeholder collaboration, other states have just flat out banned the practice. We are now talking about going backwards and eliminating the progress and negotiations that we reached only 2 years ago. This bill would certainly make Minnesota exceptional, but for all the wrong reasons. Expanding the use of seclusion when the entire country is moving in the other direction would make us an outlier, and expands a racist, sexist, and ableist practice against our most vulnerable learners. The Minnesota Disability Law Center stands in firm opposition to this practice, this trauma, and this bill.
Thank you, Ms. Heiser. Next, we'll hear from Aaron Sandsmark, and if Laura Jean would like to come up to the table next and get ready. Ms. Sandsmark, you may begin.
Hello, Chair Kunish and members of the Senate Education Finance Committee. My name is Aaron Sandsmark. I'm the Executive Director of Solutions Not Suspensions. I'm here before you today to say unequivocally that at Solutions Not Suspensions, we are strongly against Senate File 4677 and any use of seclusion in general in Minnesota schools. This bill before you today did not come from the seclusion working group directly, and we were not asked for approval on this bill, just to get that record straight. Back in 2023, after vetting a range of concerns with the safety and long-term mental health consequences of seclusion, as well as the growing adoption of viable alternatives like UKERU, the Minnesota legislature made the decision to limit the practice of seclusion by prohibiting it, for our youngest learners. Thank goodness. In 2025, I was here in this room over a 6-month period as a part of the seclusion working group. We could all agree that we wanted more supports for our children, more funds for mental health, but where SNS could not compromise was on the practice on seclusion itself. I am frustrated after hearing so many stories over that time period and data over those months that we are here again to debate the use of this disturbing practice. Let me share some quotes I received just over the past couple days from parents who have children who have experienced seclusion. Quote, "My daughter is a child who would experience this form of torture. We need behavioral understanding, not punishment." Quote, "Since the seclusion rooms have been disallowed, when my son is triggered, he has been able to work with us or a para to calm down developing tools instead of being treated as a failure." Another quote, "I have seen firsthand with my own 2 children and students the absolutely detrimental effects of seclusion rooms. These kids grow up with a lifetime of distrust and mental health repercussions. We cannot allow for the use of solitary confinement on our young children. Keep the K-3 seclusion ban in place and help us to end this practice. Thank you."
Thank you, Ms. Sandsmark. Next, we'll have Laura Jean, and if Kulia Pringle would please join us at the table. You may begin. Introduce yourself first.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Laura Jean. I am a manager of the Parent Training and Advocacy and the Public Policy Coordinator for Pacer Center. And today I'm going to read a testimony opposing seclusion from one of our parent advocates, Karen Malka, who was unable to be here today. "I am the parent of a daughter who is now 25 years old. Growing up, she struggled with her mental health. In school, she exhibited many behaviors because of her mental health symptoms. Throughout her elementary school years, we were in and out of different schools and day treatment programs. She also had many hospitalizations and medical trials. I attended many meetings with schools where I tried to help them understand that my daughter was not a bad kid, but rather a child with an illness. Many schools were not able to see or understand the disability and only focused on the behaviors rather than look through the lens of disability. Due to aggressive behaviors, she was often put in seclusion. In 3rd grade, she was put in seclusion 21 times in 1 month. This practice did not help my daughter learn to self-regulate or feel safe. Rather, it made her feel alone, it made her feel scared, it made her feel misunderstood, it made her feel punished for behaviors that were not fully in her control. It made her feel like an animal, and it made her feel isolated during her most vulnerable moments when she needed to feel connected and supported the most. Many times leading up to the seclusion, school staff chased her through the school or dragged her on the floor through the school in front of her peers in order to get her to the seclusion room. This was a humiliating experience for her, and it caused her to not want to return to school and face those peers who she was sure were now judging her and talking about her behind her back. Finally, in 6th grade, we did find a school that worked for her, and things began to turn around for her. It worked because they understood her disability. It worked because they understood and developed an individualized plan for her. It worked because she felt cared about. It worked because they came up with appropriate accommodations, and it worked because they took time to understand her perspective. They saw what she was going through, not just what she was doing to them. She was finally able to go on field trips, make friends, learn to self-regulate, and her strengths were focused on rather than her defects. She's graduated from school and college with honors and is doing well.
Ms. Jean, I need you to finish up now. Thank you.
I'm just gonna, can I finish up with one quote from the student?
One quote.
So the student wrote this at 10 years old. 4 walls, 1 glass window, 1 lock, 1 key that I don't have. You say seclusion is for safety, but it is cruelty. The smell of rubber gloves in the air. Don't touch me, get off me. You use force, leave me alone. Don't yell at me, talk to me. Don't hold me down. Don't lock me in a cage like I am an animal. I am sick, not crazy. Well, you make me feel that too. Welcome to the world of crazy. It just began, and that's me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jean. Next, we'll hear from Kulia Pringle, and if Matt Shaper would like to join us at the table. Would you introduce yourself, please, and you may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Kulia Pringle, Executive Director of Stand Up Minnesota Parents United and a member of Solutions Not Suspensions. I'm here today in strong opposition to Senate File 4677. Imagine being 6 years old, scared, overwhelmed, and instead of someone helping you, you are locked alone in a room. Seclusion is harmful, period. With all due respect, the idea that the alternative to seclusion is jail for a 6-year-old is not grounded in reality, and it distracts us from the real issue, which is whether we are willing to invest in the supports for children that support the supports that children actually need. Some have said schools need more tools or that a small number of students take up too much time. We should never solve an adult capacity problem by harming a child. Principals absolutely need tools, but seclusion is not a tool, it's a liability. If a tool causes trauma, increases escalation, and disproportionately harms Black children, it's not a solution, it's a failure of the system. We should not lower the bar for what tools are acceptable just because schools are under-resourced. Data consistently shows seclusions and exclusionary discipline practices are disproportionately impacted upon Black children and students with disabilities. If 1 or 2 students are overwhelming a classroom, that is a systems failure, not a child's failure. There is no child in Minnesota whose needs justify solitary confinement. We don't fix capacity issues by isolating children. We fix capacity issues by investing in schools. If a tool only works by removing a child's dignity, it's not a tool we should be using. The answer to overwhelmed classroom is more support, not harm. If educators need support, and they do, the answer is not to give them tools that isolate children. Give schools the tools that actually work. De-escalation training, mental health staff, behavioral specialists, smaller class sizes. Seclusion is what you use when you don't have the right tools. If a classroom is overwhelmed, that's a signal that schools need more support, not permission to isolate a 6-year-old.
Ms. Pringle, I'll need you to wrap it up, please.
Last sentence. 5 and 6-year-olds don't belong in seclusion rooms, and they don't belong in conversations about jail. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Matt Shaver, and if Fatima Molas would join us at the table. Go ahead, Mr. Shaver.
Chair Kunish, members of the committee, good morning. I'm Matt Shaver. I'm a licensed elementary school teacher, dad of kindergartner, and senior policy director at Allies. We're policy advocates for kids. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in opposition to legalizing the use of seclusion on children in 1st through 3rd grade. In your committee materials, you have an NPR article from December 2002 that details efforts to ban the use of seclusion statewide. And as you listen to testifiers today talk about the harm that locking a small child in an empty room alone against their will does, I want you to think about how close we were as a state 24 years ago to doing the right thing for kids. And if we had had the courage then, what we could have spared generations of Minnesota children. The Obama, Trump, Biden, and second Trump administration have all found the use of seclusion on students with disabilities to violate students' civil rights. The feds have systematically sued and entered into settlement agreements with school districts around the country to immediately eliminate seclusion for very similar data we have here in Minnesota, disproportionate and excessive use. Their most recent action was taken against St. Louis Special School District of Missouri in February 2026. The current Assistant Attorney General of the Department's Civil Rights Division, Harmeet Dillon, said, quote, "The Justice Department will not tolerate the abuse of our most vulnerable students. Parents should not have to worry that their children could be subjected to solitary confinement and dangerous restraint techniques at school because of their disabilities. This Civil Rights Division will put an end to these unlawful practices everywhere we find them." The question before you today isn't whether there are some families who would consent to this practice if proposed in an IEP meeting. Surely there are families out there who would agree to hitting or spanking with rulers, as was allowed until our legislature banned that tool in public schools in 1989. The question is whether it's appropriate for our system of public education, for our tax dollars to once again pay for solitary confinement for 6-year-olds, or to maintain current limits. This current limit on the use of seclusion birth through 3rd grade was the negotiated compromise in March of 2023. It happened after nearly a decade of the Restrictive Procedures Working Group meeting regularly to discuss best practices to reduce the use of seclusion and restraint in Minnesota. The Seclusion Working Group that just finished isn't the first stakeholder discussion of this issue, just the most recent. 2023, the governor proposed a birth to pre-K ban. Advocates wanted an immediate ban. This was the compromise. This bill will bring us backwards. Thank you for your time. We hope to keep it in place.
Thank you, Mr. Shaver. And so we'll hear from Ms. Molas, and if Kristen Jameson would please.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Fatima Molas. I am the mother of a child with autism, profound autism, and the co-founder of Multicultural Autism Action Network. I'm here today to strongly oppose Senate File 4677, which will appeal the current ban on seclusion for students in kindergarten through 3rd grade. Seclusion causes significant emotional and psychological harm, particularly for young children. At this critical stage of development, children benefit from most being supported in structured, safe, and nurturing learning environments, not removed from them. Our young learners deserve care, compassion, and meaningful support, not practices that risk causing lasting harm. Every behavior is communication. Seclusion is a racist practice. 338 seclusions in 2022-2023 school year in Minnesota. 11.9% of the student population identify as Black or African American. 20% of seclusions are students of identifying, again, Black and African American. Seclusion is ableist practice, and it's used 100% on children with disabilities. I urge you to protect them by maintaining the current ban. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Molas. Next, we'll hear from a remote testifier, Kristen Jameson. In the meantime, if Maren Christensen and Fardawasa Mohammed would join us at the table. Ms. Jameson, if you would identify yourself, and you may begin.
Madam Chair and Committee, my name is Kristen Jameson, and I'm from Moorhead. I'm here to share a story about my son. As a toddler, my son showed some autistic traits. He also managed mild school anxiety and exhibited no behavioral issues. He is a bright and happy child. His first IEP was written in the 3rd grade in 2022-23 when he began receiving minimal speech services. Nothing else was on that IEP, and by the end of 3rd grade, he was set to graduate from speech and no longer have an IEP. In December of his 4th grade year, in the 2023-24, C became anxious and overwhelmed at school. His way of self-regulating was to leave the classroom. Instead of supporting him, the staff used restraint and seclusion, including all-day seclusion at times. By February, C's behavior became extreme and out of character. He had moments of intense panic and sleep issues. He would try to run away from the school into her home and started to self-harm. C's educational skills and speech regressed. His growth stopped and he lost weight. His body became stuck in a state of fear and panic. Later that school year, the school staff secluded C in a room where he wrapped the cord from the window blinds around his neck and tried to kill himself. All of this took place over the span of only 6 months during his 4th grade year. He was 10 years old. There's so much that the school did not inform us of. The school reported whenever they used restraints and seclusion, but we wanted to know what had happened before the seclusions. Their descriptions were always vague, and the school was focused on compliance only. Seclusion did absolutely nothing to address the underlying causes of his behavioral challenges, and it created loopholes for the school to evade its fundamental responsibility to protect students. There were not enough protections or oversight to prevent this horrific experience from happening. We withdrew him from that school before the end of May that year, demanded behavior assessments, called for an IEP meeting, and wrote a behavior plan ourselves for the district. We also filed an
Ms.
MD.
Jameson, I'm going to,
Yes?
sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to have to ask you to just wind it up because we have a few more and we're already at time.
Sure. So we filed an MD complaint, and they were in violation of several statutes. It's had a lasting impact on our whole family, so we ask you to please protect Minnesota children by creating supportive policies to ensure this won't happen again. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next, we'll have Martin Christensen, then Fardwa Muhammad, and then we'll go remote to Molly Hofford. Members, as you can tell, we are at time. I'm willing to go over if all of you will stick around for this. So, Ms. Christensen, if you would go ahead.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Maren Christensen Hofer. I serve as the Executive Director of the Multicultural Autism Action Network, and I'm also the parent of a child with a disability. I was also part of the Restrictive Procedures Work Group, which met beginning in 2015. I joined, I believe, in about 2018 or 2019. So that was a 10-year runway, basically, that the state has been working on this issue to address reducing the use of seclusion in schools. We agree with schools that, we are very happy to have a conversation about how to reduce its use, but we do not want to move backward on this issue. We've heard from parents, we'll hear from educators, we've heard from students about how traumatizing this is. And in a moment when we are seeing mental health being the #1 issue that the principals are reporting, we cannot understand why we would be embracing an issue that causes trauma in school. We've heard people say that one of the reasons we need seclusion is because the only other option is to call law enforcement. And I really believe that that's a false binary. We do have other choices, and we have seen no evidence that shows that reducing seclusion results in increased calls to law enforcement. There are other things that we can do differently. We can support our staff with learning how to de-escalate, learning how to recognize when a student's becoming dysregulated, teaching staff about co-regulation, the tools that we can use to calm down an overwhelmed child. I don't know what else I can say that hasn't been said already, but I just want to remind you that, Minnesotans are really good at solving problems. We've seen in this past year how schools and teachers and families have really been challenged, and we met the moment with kindness and compassion and curiosity. And I would really encourage you to dig deep and find those same traits when we address this issue today. I would really hate to see this issue be the legacy of this legislative session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Ms. Muhammad. Molly Hofford will be remote after her, and then if Sabrina Tapia would join us at the table. Ms. Muhammad, you may begin.
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Fatima Molas. I'm speaking on behalf of Ferdosa. Ferdosa has a child with autism. I want to share her son's experience. When her son started a new school, middle school in Minneapolis, she trusted that he would be safe and supported. One day, she arrived to pick him up for a doctor's appointment. But he wasn't in his classroom. After asking his staff, she was led to a dark, windowless room with the door closed, with a man standing blocking the door. Inside, her son has been placed alone. Later, she learned this had been happening repeatedly over the course of 8 weeks without her knowledge or consent. When the door was open, her son was covered in yogurt, left without support, without care, without dignity. This wasn't just an incident. It caused lasting emotional and psychological trauma. Today, her son struggles with something like as simple as open doors. He now requires intensive therapy to cope with what he had experienced. And his story isn't isolated. In Minnesota, more than 50 school districts still use seclusion. And we know that it proportionally impacts Black students and 100% children with disabilities. These are not numbers, these are our children. On behalf of this mother, I'm asking you to ban seclusion. Our children deserve safe, supportive, and humane environments, especially at school. We can do better, Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you so much for stepping in to translate as well. Molly Hofford, if you'd like to join us online, and then we'll have Sabrina Tapia and Garrett Zayek.
Madam Chair and committee, thank you for your time. My name is Molly Hofford, and I live in Lakeville. I'm the mother of a special education student, but today I'm talking as a former paraprofessional. I'm here to tell you that as a paraprofessional, I did not see any behavior improve using the seclusion rooms, and instead witnessed a sickening, unending cycle. A student would begin to melt down, our attempts to de-escalate wouldn't work, we would physically remove them to a seclusion room, hold the door shut, and from then on, every day, the student would come to school already stressed out and agitated because we were no longer safe. We as the staff who had been bitten, headbutted, urinated, were also scared. So the cycle we would more quickly and more often go to the seclusion room, and that is misuse. I have been speaking about this before this work group, before 2023, everywhere. And when someone asked where was this happening, it was Mankato, and I've been speaking about this the whole time. So I hope that we can take into consideration the effect that this is having on staff, which we can barely get enough of as it is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Hofford. Next, we'll have Sabrina Tapia, then Garrett Zayek, and if Amanda Schermerhorn would join us as well. You may begin.
Chair and members of the committee, my name is Sabrina Tapia, and I am the Advocacy Program Manager for Latino Lead, and I am here in opposition of Senate File 4677. Minnesota made the right decision to prohibit seclusion for students in kindergarten through 3rd grade, and I advocate that this bill takes us backwards. Seclusion isolates a child alone in a room, and for our youngest scholars, this does not teach regulation, it escalates distress, increases fear, and disrupts learning. Minnesota's specific data that you've heard of today both confirms both the harm and the disparities, especially for students of color, particularly Black and Latino students who are significantly overrepresented. For Latino and multilingual students, this issue is compounded by what we are hearing directly from families across the state of Minnesota. Through Latino Lead and Minnesota Council of World Affairs and the World Cafe sessions, which engaged in over 120 families statewide, including Spanish-speaking families, Ojibwa and Dakota-speaking families, families who speak Somali, that ranged in ages from early childhood to high school. We found that language barriers were misrepresented as behavioral issues. Students were removed from the classrooms instead of being supported with language access and culturally responsive practices. Many families shared with us that fear and a lack of trust when disciplined without clear communications in their home language. What we are seeing is a clear pattern. When schools lack language access and culturally responsive support, behavior is misunderstood and compounded. Students are being punished instead of supported. Seclusion does not address root causes like trauma, communication barriers, or unmet learning needs. Families and data points to what works. I'm so proud that Minnesota parents have told us what they need. They are asking for multilingual health staff. They are asking for trauma-informed practices and strong family engagement with language access. The question is not whether schools need tools, they do. The question is whether we are willing to invest in effective developmentally supports.
Ms. Tapia, we do need to stop now. Thank you.
I urge you to to oppose Senate File 4677. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Zayak, if you'd like to begin, and then our last testifier, Amanda Sherman. Oh, she's on the line. Okay. Mr. Zayak, if you'd like to begin.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Garrett Zeik, and I'm testifying in opposition to Senate File 4677. I'm the father of two children, one who's experienced restrictive procedures, not technically seclusion. By the fall of 2024, my youngest child was attending a District 112 school, and he lived in a near constant state of crisis, which was later attributed to school-induced trauma. Just the thought of going to school for my son was enough to bring him about cold sweats and a rising refrain pleading until it was desperate of no school. He did not experience the most extreme types of restraint or seclusion, but he still suffers the long-term side effects of bad methods and approaches applied badly with the best of intentions. Ending restraint and seclusion is harm reduction. It doesn't fix the deeper systemic issues, but it takes violent corrective measures off the table. My child's kindergarten year began in a level 2 setting at our neighborhood elementary school. By first grade, he was spending the majority of his time alone in a resource room the size of a large closet with daily calls, typically from the principal, to take him home early. This persisted throughout his elementary years until we sent him to a level 3 setting. Before he transitioned to middle school, there was more than one instance of restraint use reported and frequent isolation, though less documented reporting in calming rooms. By the end of 5th grade, our son's sense of safety and belonging in the elementary school environment was so degraded that he was unable to attend more than 2 hours a day. For the first few weeks of middle school, he experienced near daily nervous breakdowns that only ended when we removed him from school completely. My wife and I started desperately searching for people who could help. We had an emergency IEP team pulled together and got them to agree that his level of stress and trauma was so great that the most appropriate setting for him at the time was level 8, which is a homebound setting most frequently used for children being treated for significant complex medical conditions, such as cancer treatment, and cannot be in school. It took us a year of work to get our son to the point where he could attend a new school full-time in person. That was succeeded as a result of my wife choosing to leave the workforce to devote herself full-time to supporting our son and finding solutions, to our privileged position as a relatively affluent, white, educated suburban family, luck, and our unwavering determination to ensure every plan, approach, educator, support, medical professional, therapist, or person who interacts with our child not only accepts, but embraces him as a full person who deserves the same respect, rights, and privileges as any of his non-disabled peers. What's proposed in Senate File 4677 is in direct opposition to what my family believes and have fought so hard to help secure over the past nearly 2 years, is a figurative slap in the face to my wife and myself and to what we believe and advocate for on a daily basis. Rehashing debates to extend the use of methods that only serve to harm our children is not only counterproductive and insulting, it's a waste of time, energy, and resources. I'm calling on all of you to do better and reject these changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zeik, and apologies for what your son and your family has gone through. Let's see. Our last testifier is Amanda Schermerhorn. She's coming to us remote. If you'd like to identify yourself, and you may begin.
Yes, thank you. Hello, Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for taking the time to hear my testimony in opposition of Senate File 4677 today. My name is Amanda Schermerhorn. I'm a member of the Rural Health Advisory Committee with recognition as an advocate for individuals with developmental disabilities. I'm also a wife and mother. I live in rural Detroit Lakes with my husband and our 4 children. My youngest, Richard, is 12, and he is why I'm here today. Richard has severe level 3 autism, profound global developmental and intellectual delays. He is minimally verbal and requires around-the-clock care and supervision. Richard, as I said, Richard is the reason why I'm here to oppose this bill today. He is enrolled in District 22 and is currently in 6th grade. Due to his profound disabilities, the amount of time that he attends class has been drastically reduced. He attends class from 12:45 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. Richard does not have any mobility issues, nor does he have any disability that would require him to use a transport chair. However, he is at risk for elopement only when not properly supervised. He does have in his IEP that he needs one-on-one support at all times. So at the age of 6, as a means of preventing his elopements, he was actually placed in a restraint chair with wheels and a lap belt, for the entirety of his time in class, and this did include in the hallways when going to or from the bus, and also while outside at the playground. Now, I do feel this was detrimental to his socialization and development. This clearly is not the most integrated setting for my child or any child. Senate File 4677 does look to roll back progress made by disability advocates such as myself. It would remove all language from subdivision 6C, which required the commissioner in cooperation with stakeholders to hold these working groups. And it allows children as young as 6 to be held in rooms that are smaller than the average jail cell. And that is why we do refer to this in the disability world as solitary confinement. Of course, parents will agree to this when they have professionals talking down to them, such as the author of this bill has done to us today. So my child is not just a number, he's a human being with hopes and fears, just like you or I. He is just unable to communicate those in the traditional sense. Being placed in a room to be observed in a school setting like an animal is unacceptable, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you for joining us. That concludes our testimony, members. We have floor in 15 minutes, so I'm going to ask Senator Seeberger to give her final comments. If you have questions for Senator Seeberger, if you would take them to her offline, that would be great, if you'd like to begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll cut it short. I think I said everything that needs to be said.
Thank you very much. So with that, Senate File 4677 is laid over. Let me see if I have any announcements here. Tomorrow, we will have a walkthrough of the omnibus bill and hear public testimony. Thursday, we'll have markup of the omnibus. Members, if you have amendments, please reach out to me and other committee members ahead of time for serious consideration. It is now 10:45, and we are adjourned.